I want to start this video off by saying there is no magic fat loss pill.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland.
Instead, today we're going to be looking at my 5 essentials that you need to get right in order to efficiently and consistently lose body fat in the long run. In reality, with fat loss, there is and always will be one requirement you need to get right. And this is, of course, a calorie deficit. You might be bored of hearing this, or you might have never heard of this before. Regardless, burning more calories than you consume is not only an essential, it is a literal requirement for fat loss. The old saying holds true, you cannot outrun a bad diet. Now, I already have a full video explaining what a calorie is and what a calorie deficit is. This will be linked up here. But the short version is that you burn a certain amount of calories every single day from basic bodily functions, moving around, exercise, and so on. If you consistently consume more calories than you're burning off, your body will store that excess energy as body fat. If you are consistently eating less calories than you're burning, then your body will use stored body fat to fill that gap. This is the fat loss process. I'd recommend using a food tracking app like MyFitnessPal to input your food day by day, week by week, until you get a better idea of what your general day-to-day looks like. Once you get good at eyeballing foods, you can then move into more intuitive eating, where you don't have to track everything you eat, but you probably understand day by day what's roughly going in. But at the end of the day, the more you can measure, the more you can manage. And if you aren't utilizing a calorie deficit, the next 4 tips on this list are going to be absolutely useless. Tip number 2 is sleep. Now, you probably think sleep is important, but I don't think people understand the magnitude of benefits, fat loss included, that you get from getting more sleep. I'm going to keep this strictly fat loss and fitness based, but if you'd like to learn about the massive benefits of sleep, I'd recommend reading Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Which brings us on to the sponsor of today's video. Not just yet, but we're coming for it. Before I run through the insane benefits to sleeping, it's first important to understand the difference between weight loss and fat loss. The two things aren't mutually exclusive, meaning that you can lose scale weight and not be losing body fat, and you can be losing body fat but not be losing scale weight. The number you see when you step on the scales is comprised of fat mass, or body fat, and fat-free mass. These are things just like your bones, your muscle mass, your bodily fluids, etc. So when we are in a calorie deficit, there is actually potential when we lose body fat, we could also be losing muscle mass. With that in mind, I'd like to show you 2 studies that show a massive benefit to sleeping more for fat loss. Study 1 conducted that sleeping 5.5 hours compared to 8.5 hours a day decreased the proportion of weight lost as fat by 55% and increased the loss of fat-free mass by 60%. The second study looked at sleep quality as well, in which over a 10-week period, a sleep-optimized group lost 1.8 kilograms of body fat compared to a 0.8 gain in the non-optimized group. The sleep-optimized group also gained 1.7 kilograms of body mass instead of 1.3 grams in the non-optimized group. Both of these studies show that even minor sleep loss can pretty significantly impact your fat loss progress. Both of the studies are linked down below in the description for you to go and look at. Quick one from me: if you're enjoying today's video, drop a like, drop a subscription, and I'll see you in the next essential. Essential 3. Managing your hunger levels. In my opinion, this is one of the key elements that you need to get right in order to master the fat loss process. You are going to get hungry at some point, and understanding this and being prepared is an essential part of fat loss. I worked with a client who had a 9 to 5, and when he got home, he used to raid the cupboards, or he would stop off at the shop and get some junk food. He couldn't understand why. He was eating healthy, he was training hard, he was motivated to lose weight, but he just couldn't break this habit. After we broke his day down, we found that he was having breakfast around 8:30 a.m. He was then having lunch 4 hours later at 12:30 p.m. But then he'd have his dinner 6, 7, 8 p.m. Can you see the issue here? There was a 4-hour gap between his breakfast and his lunch, but there was sometimes a 6 or even 7-hour gap between his lunch and his dinner. No wonder he was getting home starving, because these cravings were screaming at him. He hasn't eaten for hours. So all we did is we implemented 2 pieces of fruit at about 3:30 p.m. and we implemented a protein shake at about 5 p.m. And boom, like that, the cravings stopped. No more stopping at a shop, no more raiding the cupboards when he got home. Now, this might not apply to you perfectly, but I bet you there's scenarios where this hits home. You should try to get yourself more prepared and understand your day-to-day so you can curb those cravings as soon as they come on. Tip number 4 is food volume and food quality. An effective fat loss regime will always include foods that are high in volume and low in calories. A few examples of these are things like Greek yogurt or fruit and veg, oats, etc. These foods essentially allow you to eat more for less. However, we also need to understand food quality. Yes, this croissant and bowl of oats are the same calories, which if fat loss was the only consideration, they are basically identical. But the porridge will keep you fuller for longer, making it unlikely that you'll have unnecessary calories later in the day. I'm not saying never eat a croissant, because that would be evil and hypocritical, but adding foods with high volume, low calorie and better quality foods to your diet, you will see a massive increase in your energy levels day to day and your hunger levels. Now you might be waiting for or shocked to see that high protein hasn't been included yet, and the reason is I wanted to keep this list with items that have direct causal links to fat loss. Now, would I recommend a high protein diet for someone who's losing fat? Absolutely. A higher protein diet while losing fat will help you to maintain more muscle mass. It may aid in satiety, but there are studies at the moment that are kind of disagreeing with this, which is why I haven't touched it. I'll add some of them below. Protein also has the highest thermic effect, which means we burn more calories when we digest it over carbohydrates and fat. But the amount is pretty small, so it doesn't really have a significant impact. So would I recommend high protein on a fat loss diet? Absolutely 100%. And finally, tip number 5 is patience. Now this one might seem a little cliche, but I can't stress how many times over the last 7 years that someone's come up to me on the gym floor or a consultation and said, Lewis, I would like to lose 10 kilograms of body fat in the next 3 weeks. Or they've been working out for a month and they're just not seeing any progress. Fat loss is a long-term game, and the people that realize that sooner are the ones that start implementing small changes that compound over years. If you implement something into your day-to-day that you don't see yourself doing in 1 year's time, sack it off. You need to start implementing small changes to your day-to-day lifestyle, and I guarantee you will start to see progress over the years to come. That has been my 5 essentials for mastering the fat loss process. Leave your essentials down below in the comments and let me know what you thought of mine. Thank you very much for watching this far, and I will see you in the next one.